Where's the build at? How much has it cost you so far? Are you gonna give up because you got a son now? Why is the engine back out? Why is the gearbox off the engine? All of these things I'm covering today, so strap on in and get ready for a lot of BMW updates. So a lot of things have been happening with the car, a lot of little things here and there, and I thought it'd be good to update you guys on everything and bring you up to speed to where we are. Now, if you are just joining in for the first time, this project is the better than an M3 build. We have a E46 320 Ci that we've pulled the whole drivetrain out, repainted the whole thing, and the aim is to build it better than an M3 for less than half the cost. Now, what that means is essentially build this as good as we can for about 25 grand. So, I'm gonna update you guys with the budget at the moment, where we're at, and what we're doing. We are doing a 1JZ conversion into this car. We're gonna stick with the stock twins. We are not doing that anymore. We're going to single, and we'll talk about that in a minute. We are doing a A340 shift kitted auto gearbox, which is down there, because I already have a manual turbo 2J in my Supra. It's got the V160. I don't want to just rinse and repeat that build. I want something a little bit different, and that's going to make that a little bit different. So we have done a lot of things with this car. If you are not up to date completely, you can jump into the videos. We've done coilovers, we've done paint, we've done seats, we've done interior, we've done gauges, we've done steering wheels. What else have we done? We've done grills, we've done front lips, rear bumpers, carbon fiber here, carbon fiber there, a whole bunch of stuff. And we have a whole bunch of cool stuff happening even after the engine goes in, like a set of very, very rare VSKFs that are perfectly built and rebuilt for this car. For you guys that have been watching the videos, I've got a few things that we've been talking about doing to the car and actually haven't updated the price on. Things such as the thermo fans, done that. We've done a new intercooler, which is actually down there and needs a little bit of welding. We've done a new throttle cable. We've done a new fuel pump. We have done full vacuum hose replacements and clamps on the engine. We have bought a single turbo and a single turbo manifold for the engine because, like I said, the twins weren't going to work, so we've gone big singles. We have bought transcooler and installed that, and we have got solid engine mounts now. And there's actually solid transmission mounts, but you can't see those because they're on the bracket. Now, we're going to go and talk about the price in a minute, but the engine is back out because there are a few things we still need to do. One of which was the thermo fan was sticking too far out and it was actually touching the front of the engine. Well, it wasn't touching, it was very close to the front of the engine. So I've had to take that off and adjust it back ever so slightly. I'm actually going to install that at the end of this video off camera. So obviously you can see it in the next video. So you got to come back, got to give you something to come back for. Radiator hoses are essentially done. The engine bay, as you can see, is half black. Now I'm doing a full black engine bay, but I did get a bit carried away the other day when I pulled the engine out and I just did this area clearly because I haven't masked off the outside of the car. I don't want to get overspray or anything, but we're doing black because it just looks a lot nicer. The whole theme of the car is gray and black and carbon. So having this light gray engine bay just wasn't going to work. So we're going all black in the engine bay. Hard mounts because why not upgrade mounts when you can? So if anyone's looking for a set of OEM factory mounts, let me know because I've got a set that has literally had an engine sitting on it for about a month and never started, never run. We have come back and we've turned this hose up ever so slightly. I don't know if that's enough. I really hope it is. It's not much. It's really not much. But we're going to be chucking a 90 on there, so that's fine. I need to do a little bit of massaging here on the tunnel for where the starter motor is. And apart from that, it's pretty much the engine bay kind of ready for the new engine to go in. We are going to be mounting reservoirs and so on over here. Things like power steering reservoir is going to be going over here. The washer bottle reservoir is going to be going over here. The overflow for the radiator may be going back there. Things like that. But as for the engine bay, it's just going to be prep the last little bit, paint that, turn that up a little bit more if I can, and massage that tunnel. I am going to be jumping through the whole drive line and putting undercar Raptor liner on, just so that it's all as good as we can. We will be putting this heat shielding back on over here, and so I've taken off the factory heat shielding because apparently that carpet kind of like matting stuff is prone to catch on fire with turbos. So not ideal, not gonna want that. So I'll rip that off and we're gonna be putting the reflective tape on here and all that from, what is it, Car Builders or something like that, just to keep the heat down, but that'll be for that area. So that's gonna be great. As for the engine itself, it is back out because the transmission needs a front and a rear seal, which we have those. They'll be going in very soon. Then we can actually mount the gearbox to the back of the engine for good with everything in it, whereas previously it was just mounted up like for a dummy fit so that we could actually see how it all fits in the engine bay. The engine itself is good, but we are going to be doing the single turbo conversion on it out of the car, because obviously if you're doing it in here, it's going to be a lot harder. So we're going to do the single turbo, the oil feed and drain lines, the water feed and drain lines, all that out of the car when it's on a stand. Also the oil pan, as you can see here. Now, see how there's an angle like that? Here, between the actual oil pan and this cross member, you can put your finger, which is great. But the oil pan comes across like that and then back. So in these sections, it gets very, very close. You could run it if you want, especially if you're doing track car, and especially if you're running hard mounts, you could probably run that and it would be fine. But I want to build this thing really perfect. So what we're actually going to do is just modify those corners of the oil pan. We're going to cut it, weld in new plates, just so it sits back exactly the same as this does. So when the engine was in here, I laid underneath and I actually marked how this lines up on the actual on the oil pan, so that we can cut it perfectly, put the plates in and weld it up. Also, while it's out and we're doing this single turbo conversion, we do need to weld up where the external wastegate was. So I don't think it's out here. No, it's not. But the external wastegate did have two ports that kind of shot inwards and then back. I've cut them off and we're going to weld them up because we have an internal wastegate, not an external wastegate. Did I say internal before? I don't know. I'm getting confused. I'm sorry. But it was a externally wastegated manifold that we're changing to an internally wastegated setup. So we do need to weld up that. Now, all the way back there, you'll be able to see that subframe is a little bit too low. That's because the subframe is still out of the car. We are still halfway through doing the subframe reinforcement plates. My mate Kel, who's going to be doing the welding, has hurt his back, so we are waiting for that. The welding that I need him to do is that. We've got a drop box for the shifter. That needs welding. You see that little, oh, I don't know if you can see it. You see that reinforcement there, the upside down U shape? We can't cut that, but we can cut towards me in front of that, and that's where the drop box will be going. So that's gonna be great. Drop box will go there, but we do need to weld that in. So subframe, that, the turbo manifold needs welding, the oil pan needs welding, and I think that is it for now. I think that's all the welding we need to do. Oh, and then obviously exhaust, but that won't be done until the engine's in, and then we can actually, you know, put the subframe back in and roll it around. We do need to get obviously a tail shaft, but that's going to be once the oil pan's done, gearbox is on, turbo's on, and turbo lines are all on, and everything's back in situ. We've bolted down, we've made a trans cross member mount, which is actually very easy. I'll show you that when we do that in another video, but that's going to be quite easy. Once that's in, this is in, we know exactly where it's positioned. Then I can take my measurements from the back of the transmission to the center bearing, and then I can take it away and get it created, because we're essentially going to be cutting off the front. Is the front? Yeah, we're going to be cutting off the front and welding on the front of the Toyota one, which you need obviously to make up to the back of the Toyota box. Once we've done all that, we're kind of ready, right? So it's fairly basic. If you want to do a quick summarize, it's paint the bay, massage the bay, do the welding, so subframe, drop box, and oil pan, and turbo manifold. Get the single turbo on the manifold and all the lines done. Then it's literally engine back in, create the cross member, get the tail shaft done, and we're kind of almost there. We can put the front of the car back on, we can get the subframe back in, and put this back on the ground, and then trailer it to get an exhaust done. Then it needs to go and get wired and then tuned. So there's a lot of videos to come still, but I just wanted to bring you guys up to date. Now, let's jump on into the garage and we can have a look at our list of costs and see where we're at budget-wise. All right, so let's jump back in from where we left off, which was when we did the engine and did all the coil pack painting and the gaskets and all that kind of stuff, the timing, all that. And then we're jumping back in at the thermo fan, which was only 50 bucks, including all the brackets. Intercooler was 531. The new throttle cable and a little stopper behind the throttle cable, 110. New fuel pump, 124, which is a Warbro 255 as far as I remember. Vacuum hoses and clamps, all up was 58 bucks. The new single turbo was $1,634. You can get that off of eBay straight away, like, you know, through Outlaw Performance, I think it is, something like that. Or directly through Aeroflow. The turbo manifold was 100 bucks. The transmission cooler was $282. And then the solid engine and transmission mounts were 127 bucks, which leaves us with a grand total of $16,076. So that means we have about $9,000 left for the build, roughly. That means also the wheels are $3,000, essentially. So we've got $6,000 left. We need to buy a Haltech. We need to buy a transmission module. We have to buy a CAN bus module. We need to get the car wired, and then we need to get it tuned. So we're gonna be getting very close. I know the ECU is about $2,500. I know the wiring is $1,500. So we got $4,000 there. So we got $2,000 left for the ancillary parts and tuning. I think we'll just scrape in just ever so slightly just under the 25. Obviously we can probably have a play. I think it was maybe like 26, 27, but I'm just giving myself an easy figure of $25,000 just so we know we can stick to something. And for $25,000 to have an E46 with fresh paint, fresh wheels, fresh 1J, and a fresh gearbox, 25,000? Better than M3? I think so. I think so. But we will see. You will have to hang around and see how we go with this build. See what comes up, see if there's any more hiccups or bumps in the road, and then maybe we'll push to 30,000. But to be fair, I think 30,000 is even gonna be under half. The cheapest M3 I could find, I think was about 66K. And the most expensive was like 120K. I'll have to go back and have a look, and I'll update you in the next video on our exact budget. But for now, that is it. That is all I have time for. Thank you for coming along for the update on the Better Than an M3 E46 build. Thank you for subscribing, which you're gonna do right now because you're a legend and you wanna help out your boy who's struggling to get the subscribers, struggling for this channel to grow. I would like to see it happen, but if it doesn't, I'm gonna keep building stuff anyway because it's fun and I'm loving this. So thank you for coming along, guys. Please like, please subscribe, please jump in the comments and let me know what you think. And I'll see you all in the next one. See you guys.